Chapter 4. Two Gentlemen of Distinction. Jenny bounced up the creaky, sun-bleached boards of her front porch. The house, a rambling, tacked-on assortment of rooms, had little to recommend it except the warm glow of home. Jenny's mother had always said it was a little nothing with chimney, steps, and tin sheets. Red and white petunias strained upward, scattered amidst the violet community that ambled around the house. Rose bush leaf buds, swollen with yesterday's rain, poised to burst forth in bloom. The chimney, built on the right outside wall of the white frame structure, was wide and solid. The steps were a squat, rickety assortment of old board and bricks. An old nailed barrel stood solemnly at the corner. The clematis vines flaunted huge, searching white blossoms against the faded green shutters. Inside there were just 5 rooms, a small parlor, dining room, kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. An outhouse perched precariously in view to the rear left of the yard. There was old cedar furniture and blue willowware on the porch. The side yard fruit trees gleamed their fragrant exposition against the weathered walls, faded gray from neglect. Behind the house, the yard sloped downward to the barn, thickly enclosed by the forest brush. Bolting into her bedroom, Jenny flung the burdensome school books across the bed, and picking up an old oar from the corner, snapped it into the rusted oar locks she had collected earlier. "Great!" she exclaimed, peeling crusted red particles from the stiff hardware. "What I wouldn't give for a boat." Getting lost in your imagination and running about on exotic adventures is fine if you're a fairy princess, but Jenny, feeling a bit downhearted, had to apply herself to various contemptible matters, such as washing up, retrieving the livestock from the front fields, feeding chickens, making beds, washing dishes, and catching prince, her intolerant goat who had chewed himself loose from his rope binding. While engaged in the latter activity, she heard a slow, rather drawled voice comment, "Why don't you hoe your vegetables, Miss Jenny?" She turned around, focusing on Dewey Favors, perched on a low stone wall that divided the garden from the barnyard. Jenny, securing Prince, who she had only just corralled, wrinkled her nose. "Too hot." "We've had so little rain this spring, your turnip greens are all but burnt up, and your onions need weeding," Dewey quickly noted. "Hints from the Farmer's Almanac?" Jenny fired back sarcastically. "Hint 1. Carefully remove all disgusting pests from garden walls," she recited, seizing a handy bean pole and advancing upon Dewey. He caught the blow with a quick hand movement. "Did you say pest or pet?" he asked. She laughed and sat down on the wall beside him. "What are you doing here, Dewey?" "I heard a great shouting and a cussing, and as a conscientious neighbor, I felt it my duty to investigate." "I was only yelling at Prince, and I wasn't cussing much." "By the way, you weren't in school this morning," she returned. "No, the learned Mr. Favors chose not to adorn his desk today." Jenny, peeling back a stringy set of her disheveled hair, studied him. Dewey's hair was sun-bleached brown, and his blue eyes screamed from the whites of his eyes. His shirt and tattered shorts showed long brown arms with battered, scratched legs. You wouldn't suspect it from looking at him that he was crippled, but he was, slightly. An early bout with polio had shortened his left leg. He read a lot and was a great observer. He looked quite through the deeds of men. Dewey Favors, Jenny observed inwardly, and not for the first time, has the unnerving ability and innate propensity to agitate her soul. There was silence, broken by an inconsequential bah from Prince, and by the prolonged assaulting buzz of a yellow jacket. "I went with Pa to meet 2 cousins of mine at the train station in Fairburn. Girls, mind you, from Atlanta," he threw out casually at last. "Oh," answered Jenny. Hey, Slippery Joe caught 2 giant speckled catfish in less than half an hour down off Peter's Point this morning. Curious, Jenny's interest lay elsewhere. She frowned and probed. Dewey Favors, stick to the subject. You were talking about your cousins from Atlanta. What are they like? How old are they? Well, they're just girls, you know. What do you think they'd be like? Mongolian warriors? One's a little brat, about 5. The other's about your age. Don't be so high and mighty. You're only 2 months older than me, too, you know. Don't talk down to me. Tell me more. What's to tell? Girls are all the same. Come over and see 'em yourself if you're that interested. Which reminds me, Mother said to invite you over soon, as I am not expected to be of much company to them, being as they's girls. She expects my being a boy won't be of much concern to them either. The lanky boy produced a huge fish hook from his pocket and studied it purposely. Slippery says one of them catfish was 3 feet long, he offered in amazement and full conviction. Jenny groaned and leaped from the wall. And Slippery's never been prone to exaggeration, she expounded. Guess what? She interjected excitedly. I found an old rowboat this morning down at the river. I think most of it is salvageable. Where do you suppose it came from? Imagine a real boat showing up right here, right now, just for Jennifer Stanhill. Must be something behind it. I know there's a mystery to be solved here. Perhaps a terrible accident. An accident. A drowning. Lord, tomorrow we might come across a bloated, putrid corpse. Murder right here in Campbell County. Dewey, raising his coarse eyebrows in apprehension at the convolutions of his young patriot's imagination. Land sakes, girl, your papa probably planted that dump down there just for you to discover. He knows what a fool you are about the river. Next thing you know, you'll be building an ark and paddling to Atlanta on some dead-bane scheming adventure of yours. Not an ark, but maybe a flatboat. That's a great idea, Dewey. You're terrific. My very own boat. Just imagine, we could float down to Riverton this summer. Maybe even Columbus, or the Gulf of Mexico. I always wanted to see the beach and the ocean. Dewey blinked, unmoved, allowing an appropriate span of time to elapse so as to connect with the young dreamer upon her return to the present dreariness of her existence. Hopping off the wall with his usual deliberation, he remarked offhandedly, It's a fun idea. I suppose we could make one if we wanted to. Make one? Make a boat? Jenny popped. Dewey, how do you mean? We can't make a boat. It would cost lots of money, and anyway, Papa won't let us anywhere near the water by ourselves. I mean just what I say. We'll build a boat, or if nothing else, lash some logs together and make a flatboat, like that Lincoln fella. I'm sure we could float to Riverton with plenty of time to return by the East Road. We could probably hitch a ride on some farmer's wagon, he announced, failing to see that his own imagination had carried him quite a distance into Jenny's adventurous world. Tomorrow, he said, and in an instant he was gone. Jenny, left dancing from foot to foot in her excitement, asked, Could we really, Dewey? Dewey? Looking about and realizing her solitude, she complained, That boy can be so unbearable. Where did he go? How can anyone be so aggravating?